Entangle in your feelings. On and on, you go on and repeat. Mind stuck weak, mind asleep, mind got a upbeat, mind free, mind I got it. Stepping ahead of time, stepping ahead of time. Juice is running out, juice is running out. Sweet scent of jasmine, fill the air with the fragrance of grace. Reminds you that I'm still here, but still there. Taking a conscious breath, dying a living death, dying a living death, conscious of every breath, dying a living death, conscious of every breath, yeah. In the vast universe, like a bug to be squatched. How much time have you got? How much juice left in the jar? What have you done so far? What is the purpose and the reason for your madness? That's why you after me with mad vengeance. Sucking my life energy and pouring your death, darling. Baby cries, life to the young, dual nature to everyone. Shit gets wiped out my memory. Body will get burned in a cremated cemetery. Remnants of ashes grow into a tree. Fragrant, sweet jasmine aroma, the air in this life and death love affair. Every sweet day comes to find me, but I wake up one of life anomaly. Dying a conscious death, yeah, dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Juice is running out, juice is running out. Scent of sweet jasmine, fill the air with the fragrance of grace. Reminds you that I'm still here, miss still there. Taking a conscious breath, dying a living dead, dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Taking a conscious breath, dying a living dead, dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Send mop out my fate, watch destiny outplay. Spirit, soul in unity, life energy, merging it, the creator infinity. Liberating me around me, all I see. Leaving physical and mental body, releasing karma and its tragedy. Chains of magnetic slavery, liberation at last, no future, no past. Now is the time, now. This moment is all there is. You dig? Dying a conscious death, dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Juice is running out, juice is running out, juice is running out. Sweet scent of jasmine, fill the air with the fragrance of grace. Reminds you that I'm still here, we're still there. Taking a conscious breath, dying a living dead, dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Yeah, give thanks for life, y'all. Respect that life is fragile. I cherish the life I am.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. I am your host, Aset. I am primal light, prepared for this dream duality existence in this form, in the shattered, fragmented self, wearing this body, taking an identity as Aset, Aten with a destiny to restore balance to the I and I self. So I fulfill the I destiny, and I liberate myself from all destinies and return to I ultimate true state. So I want to say much honor and reverence. Thank you for joining the I. So the topics I will be talking on today is death. So I want to I want you to look at this topic. What is death? I'm going to be talking on who am I, what is stillness, what is life? Are you curious to exist as the real and not the dream? So the topic on death, curiosity, and temptations. So let's get into the topic. So many are confused with the transition that ones make. So I want you to know that the I exists with these false perceptions, looking through these eyes here. You cannot see yourself. Can you see yourself what you look like? No, you have manifested yourself in this body. But everyone in this world, even the youngest child, have been around death, and so will know that they are not a body. They transition, they are that which animates the body, using the body as the vehicle or vessel to explore all of this creation. So with that being said, everyone should be able to come to this truth. Can we all agree that the I is not this body? And the big struggle the ones are making is that they're identifying as the mind, but neither are you the mind. So this is, if you come to the realization that I am not this body, no, then the I has to also come to the realization that I am not this mind. This mind has been dictating things, telling stories, making up false narratives, and I've been programming the eyes into these false narratives. The eyes that the I and I seen through are false perceptions. The eye does not know what the eye look like. If you can honestly tell me what you know what you look like, let me know if you have honestly seen yourself. I have set of experience many aspects of the I self, in the duality and the non-duality, in all the forms, the myriads of form. It is I. It is I taking form in all these myriads of things. The formless can take form in these myriads of things. The formless allow the form to be. So let's first get a clear understanding of that. So what is death? I want the I to know that death is just a transition that one has to make. You have to transition from in the body. It's like when you have your car, you go into your car when you want to travel a great distance, because walking is going to be so tasking and tiring on the body, right? If you are walking, so you get into your car, you come out of the car, but is your car yourself? You're using it to travel. So same thing with this body. You you have entered into this body, and you also have to leave out of the body, because you are just temporarily animating this body. This is what you are doing, right? This is what the eye is doing. Eye is in this body. When I have to leave the body, the eye transition and the eye go back into the invisible world. Into the visible world, the eye is exploring as into a manifestation into this visible world, so that you see all the things that exist here, you see them visible. The eye into this body can touch them. Into the invisible world, the things are also being experienced there, but they cannot be touched because the eye have no body to touch them. The same thing exists in the visible world, exists in the invisible world. The difference is that in the visible world, when you have something to explore and to manifest the things them in a tangible way. In the invisible world, everything just stay as the dream, and you're interacting with them because you do not have a body to interact with them. Into this visible dream, you're interacting with the physical things because you have a physical body. So I want to know that you've always existed without a body. When you come into this body, into this dream illusionary world, I want to answer also the question that what is life? What is this world? It is a dream. What is life? Life is a dream. What is this world? This world is a dream. So you are into different aspect of the dream. So when one is leaving the body and you are no longer be into this visible, tangible world, the dream, um, you return back into the other aspect of the dream where the things does not manifest because there is no light, there is darkness, and the sun does not shine there. It is the world that is built below the earth. There is this, that's where we go into that blackness, into, and I wouldn't even say blackness, but into the darkness, because there is no light. There's a difference between blackness and darkness. Darkness is the void of light. Blackness is just the natural state of all the existence. The light, the real light, is the blackness. And so when it manifests, this is when it shatters itself into these atoms and particles. So why is there death? As we know, the process of leaving the body is what we call death. And so there is no death to the real self. What happened is that what is happening now is a merger. The self, I self, as fragmented and make myriads of self, because everything in the existence is all the I self. The I self is dissolving the dream. So it's merging back with all of itself to be one unified self. So why is there death? Death, the process of leaving the body, is to make one aware that this is a permanent this is not a permanent state, and one has to come to realization and not hold oneself with possessions into this dream, but is for one to visit and for one to come into truth while one is here. Because why ones are seeking to live forever into this body. They do not understand that this life is a dream, and they have been imprisoned inside of a dream by the supreme ego and the supreme ego characters. The only ones who want to stay in the dream forever is only the ego false self, the supreme ego. Why is there that? That has to happen so that the self that is animating the body come into true realization and seek its existence, seek its truth of who am I, what am I? I have never seen myself. I'm seeing this body, and if I am not this body, and if I am not this mind that is constantly telling me things to do this, do that, programming, then who am I? So one has to be curious. You must have curiosity of your existence. All right, and I'm going to elaborate more on curiosity in a little while. You must be curious of everything into this existence. So this is why there is that process of leaving the body. And I want you to know that when you are in the body, you have the help. You can come into true self-realization. It is easier for you to do this than when you are not in a body. So you want to do this. You want to do this while you have the opportunity right now in this body. You don't want to go through the process of this transition from the body and not come into true self-realization. And this is a must. This must happen. I'm going to tell you why this must happen. Because when I had to go through the process, I was obsessed. Everyone thought, that I kept saying that when one would ask me how I was, and every day at time I would say that I am dying. And sometimes this death feeling comes for you, and sometimes suicidal feeling comes. It just means that the ego is the one that must die. The ego false self must die so that the real self can come alive, can come into it, can wake up from sleeping. Also, sometimes when the duality come on you, they will fill you up with make your mind crazy and fill you up with suicidal thoughts. So this is why it is very important to stay anchored in the I self. And when the I is self-inquiring, being curious of the I existence. All right. So I want to just share a little bit about my experience. And so when I asked the question, what is death? Because I was feeling like I was dying, like something is happening. I don't understand what it is. And this death is up. It's an obsession of mine. And so I said, what is it? And the way that things happen for me is that when I ask a question, I get an experience. So this is how I learn what death is. I get to experience the I coming out of the body. So I was seeing the I self, watching the I, coming out of the body. Then I was went to visit someone, to let them know, and I really believe that was going to be the last of it, to let them know that I was leaving the body. And then I had the experience, and this is all in awareness. And so no, when I was trying to come back into the body, I couldn't come back into the body. A son came a sun came over to the eye head, and the electromagnet clamped down onto the the um the self with the consciousness and pull it out of the body. And this is how I was experiencing what happened when one passed. So this is how I know, like, when one happened, that the eye sun comes and pull the eye out of the body, disconnect it. This is how the eye self finally get disconnected from the body. Because sometimes, something might happen, but the eye is not disconnected yet, because the eye is still waiting to see the eye can if the body will be fit, if it will heal, or whatever is happening, that the eye will return back to it. And so when the process of the eye cannot return back to the body, this is when the sun comes and pull and makes the and dissolve the cord, that attach the eye self to a body. So this is how, when the eye leave the body, the eye know how to return back to the exact body that the eye have. When the eye leave out of the body and go into the invisible world, because remember that the invisible world is another dream. That is the dream of what we call death, and the visible world is the dream of what we call life. Because when you leave outside the body, one say, "Oh, you're dead." One is dead, but one there's just this body that is no longer useful. The I self is still there in existence. So know that the I self has no death. The I is formless, timeless, limitless, deathless, boundless. Right? The I is just limited into the dream right now because the I is sleeping. So when the I wake up and the merger happens, the I merge back into the I real self. Right? It's limitless, timeless, boundless. This self is going on for, it's no bound to it. Right? So what is that? That's a transition from the I leaving out of the body when the body is no longer fit to hold the I self, or when the I have fulfilled the I's destiny wearing this body. And when the I is in the body, the I has the opportunity to come into true self-realization, because I have more awareness from the light, which is the light of the world, and from the light of the I self, the soul. The I have the opportunity to merge with the I soul and be one unified self. So this is why being in the life is so important, that you make this merger, you come to this realization, and you be curious of yourself, curious of your own existence, want to know yourself. Stop being curious of the dream and be curious of yourself. Want to know everything about yourself. You're inside a dream. So who has fear of death? The ego has fear of death because, as like I said, the I self has no death, only the ego. Because when one is wearing the body, you're wearing the body as the ego false self. So the ego does not want to give up this body, to give up the pleasures of this dream existence, this illusion, the delusions, all its making up stories and all of these narratives that the ego tells. So the ego has fear. The ego does not want to die. The ego can die because it's a dream creation. It rises in the dream. but not the self. So that only applies to the ego, and the ego false self. That one exists as. When the ego false self dies, the real self will rise. So when we think about death, this is what the I must think about: death to the ego false self. So that the self, the ego false self, will never rise again, and the I just exists as the real. Merge into the I real self called the soul. It's not supposed to be something you give away willy-nilly to someone. You're supposed to merge with it and be yourself, the soul. Can you repeat that with me? I is the soul. The I self, the soul, is not something I give to any God, no deities, to Jesus, to Allah, to Krishna, to Elohim. The I self, the soul, is is I self that I need to be. So I, in this ego false self, need to merge with the I real self and just be the I self. It's not something to give away. It's yourself to be yourself. If you give yourself away into being a prisoner, into slavery and tyrannical rulership, be yourself. Your soul is your real self. Know this truth, right? So be yourself. Death to this ego false self. Call the I self soul and be yourself. So you know. So if you are yourself, how can you give yourself into slavery and death? No. Be yourself and you will see the power that you are. So, why did the gods think that they were going to die? You might not know this, but if you are moving around with the gods, then you get to know this truth. The gods think that they were going to die because the black sun and the self, the I self, that is the black hole, comes, and they have to go inside of it and for their ego false self to be dissolved. So that's why they thought that they were going to die, and they was very scared because Shiva Shambho was given the destiny to, because Shiva Shambho is the same energy as them. He is the masculine aspect of the self, the protons, and but he himself has light. He has electrons. Um, and now he's merged with his feminine self, which is the primal guru. So Shiva Shambho has the destiny to dissolve them, and they were very terrified because the black hole is the I self that has to they have to go inside of it real powerful, and so they thought they themselves think just like the human beings, the ones that are wearing this body as human beings, thinking that when you lose this body you are dying, that the self is eternal. So what the I self supreme is doing is also waking up the gods them and pulling the ego off of them so that their self can be liberated, and so that the ego, the mind, will eventually also be dissolved. But this was why they were afraid, because the ego self must die. Death to this ego false self, right? So this is why the gods, they were very afraid that they were going to die. So know that, you know, the gods, they also have a lot of fear. It's not just the ones wearing these bodies that have fear. Gods, they have fear also. And so, what is the great merger? The great merger is the I self as the ego false self, death to the ego false self, must dissolve this ego false self and merge with the I real self called the soul. Like I said, the soul is the real self, not something for the I to give away willy nilly, but to be it, to be the I self. So when the ego false self is dissolved, the spirit, the baby wakes up and merge back into the self called the soul, because it is the one that animates the body, and the I just becomes the soul self. So you're no longer existing as the spirit that's sleeping. You're now your soul that is awake and have light, and you know the truth. All right. So this is the merger that must happen for everyone. Now the great merger is the I self supreme, the non-being, the unmanifest, stillness, nothingness. All the I have to merge with the I at that level of the self. And this is what's happening right now. So remember, the I is timeless, limitless, boundless, deathless, right? Formless. The I has no form. So this form that the I is in, is this the I self? Why would you want to be trapped in a form forever, for eternity? This is what the gods have been offering you, because the gods are in ignorance. So only follow the I self, merge with the I self, dissolve this ego false self, death to the ego, never to the self. The I self can never die. The I self is just taking a form. Look all around you and you see all the form the I self is taking. Everything is the I self. Everything into this existence is the I self. In one, the I self in the non-dual, in the real, and the I self in the duality as the dream. This is how the I is taking form. Because behind the dream, there is a real self that is sleeping and dreaming. And from the dream arises the ego false self. And so all of these ego false self, death to all of them. Death to the ego, death to all the ego false self, so that the real self can rise. Remember, the real self sleeps for this ego false self, the dream. The ego false self cannot exist if the real self is awake. And so this is the time, the merger that must happen with the ego false self, the spirit that everyone dwells as, must be dissolved. Death to this ego false self, so that the real self can wake up from sleeping, being entranced in the dream. Because remember that the eyes that the eye see with, these are false perceptions. You have never seen yourself, never know what you look like. So you must inquire. So what happened when the I transition? Is there a heaven and a hell? And I want to talk about spirit crime. What exactly is spirit crime? Spirit crimes are being committed by all the I and I selves who, when the I and I leave the body, they transition and they go into the invisible world. Because remember, like I said, the invisible world is a mirror world like this one. The only thing is that the things are not tangible, because there is no sun, there is no awareness to manifest the thing, there is no light, it's in darkness. And into this visible world, this is where we have the sun shining, We have the light from our soul, so we can manifest things. This is why all of these things are here. So in the invisible world, when one enters into the invisible world, all of the I's who are holding attachment to all of them, that which came as the I family member, mother, father, sister, whoever, husband, wife, whatever, their role that they were playing is over. They were just playing a role, and you have been unjustly holding them into slavery and bondage by trapping them and calling onto them, trapping them into your devices, and calling them into to do evil things for you because your mind is messed up. This is the spirit crime. What you're doing is wrong. Using them to do your magic and your evil and all of these things. And you are not allowing them to return back into the body so that they can come into awareness, so that they can come into remembrance. So it is time for the I and I to stop this foolishness. Right? What happened when the I transition? When the I transition out of the body and the I go into the invisible world, the I have to prepare the I self to come back into a body, because the process of coming into a body is very important. This is how the I can merge with the I real self called the soul. When you come into a body, you have this opportunity. You have the light, you have the sun, you have your self soul awareness. When the I transition, the I loses this awareness. You continue to do the same ignorant things that you were doing when you were not in a body. Is there a heaven and is there a hell? I want to address this question. The gods created heaven and hell because they rule the invisible world. They also rule this visible world, but they rule this visible world through human beings who call on them to do things, and who created different gangs, because the God is a big gang business. So if you choose whichever one of the gods you choose, you form your own sector and you rival with each other. It's only the ones then that's in awareness and coming to truth can say, oh, what you're doing is wrong. But if you follow God's, you're always doing the wrong thing. And as always the ones who are rising up and saying and talking and allowing discussions. But God only program you into one-minded thoughts, and you cannot question the existence of God. You cannot question the things that God is doing wrong. But when one is existing in a society where one can have discussion and talk about things, this is when one can come to balance, because your self-intelligence will come in and not this mind, ego, false self-perceptions. And so the gods know that that's their domain. Because remember, when you transition, you are no longer in a body, you are existing without a body. So, do you know what you look like without a body? You have no idea what you look like without a body. So, when you're existing in the invisible world without a body, you are still in existence. But if you have chosen one of the gods, you get to go hang out with them. So this is like your club, like everyone they choose this club or that club or this gang. This is who you go hang out with. The gods, so the gods are divided based on their mental state. So the ones that are not suffering so much mental problem. They have more awareness. Um, they are like the archangels. The archangels, like Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Michael, Archangel and Enoch, they have more awareness. So they're not doing a lot of the crazy things like the blood sacrifices and all of these things. They don't do those things. Um, the other gods, them, the ones with the mental, a lot of mental sickness, they're the ones that turn into the devils and the satans, because there are two specific ones. Satan is thought, which is the baby self of Allah, and we have the devil, which is Set. This is the main devil, but you have many little ones smaller than him, um, that he rules over, because that's just what these gods do. They fight among each other, just like any gang rivalry. This is what they do. And so, depending on which one of the gods, which one of the gang you choose, then your god protect you from the other gods. So if you are, say you are calling on Krishna, Jesus, Allah, Archangel Michael, Gabriel, all of these, they are powerful, and many of the other ones, they respect them and respect their territory. So every one of them had their own territory. And so when you go into the invisible world, and if you choose one of these, they are protecting you. So if say Allah, say Krishna have your soul, none of the other gods them can come and take your soul, because Krishna is gonna defend you and fight for you, and you do whatever. So this is what it is. This is how it's a very elitist, depending on which gods. And so if you was in the world doing a lot of bad things, and your mind was sick, then you would go where Set is. Set and Thought, because their mind was very messed up, and they are the rulers of the hell. So which means that when one talk about heaven and hell, also is how the god torture you. The gods, they beat up the self and torture them. They swallow them and beat them up, the soul, because the soul is the source of the light that they use, and they imprison the soul. So this is why they say that they will put you in hell by beating up your real self, which is the soul, because you don't know that, because you're giving your soul into slavery. But they beat up, imprison the soul, and this is the hell that they put you through. So because the invisible world is just like the earth, I want you to visualize it just like the earth. Just like you have the rough neighborhoods we call the ghetto, and you have uptown neighborhood where it's safe, and you are in poverty, so you in the rough neighborhood where the ghetto is and all these things. This is how it is in there. So in hell, this is all the people that their mind is very sick, the worst of the conditions, and they all go to that aspect. And all the elitists, the archangels and angels and those, they are the ones that you can say are the ones who have the heaven part, and the hell part is for all of the gods them with the crazy mind. So this is how they separate it. So, and based on who you choose. So, but now the I Self Supreme is dissolving all of this, because all of the selves are merging back. Remember the great merger? All of the selves are merging back to be unified as one self, so that there can be self-harmony and self-balance, and so the I self can return back to balance. Know that the shattering of the self is very traumatic for the I self. And if you want to know truth, you will have to face these things, and the ego does not want to know truth. And many ones, they are seeking bliss and pleasures of this dream existence, and they don't want to know truth. When you seek truth, you go through suffering, because you are going against the duality. The duality, the supreme ego and all the supreme ego characters come to fight against you, because they do not want. So many ones choose the easy road, because it's just easier to follow the temptations of when the gods come to tempt you and offer you things. You'll choose that instead of choosing to liberate yourself and choosing truth and choosing to dissolve this ego false self. So know that when the I shatter the self, so every question I ask, I experience it. And so I experienced when the atom was shattered, and I experienced the death, like I was explaining to you earlier, when the I came out of the body, and the sun came and pulled the I out of the body, and the I was trying to come back into the body, and the I couldn't come back into the body. And then the self, no, then I take that, then the self allow me to take that breath. I just do like that, and then the self allow me to return back into the body, because I self wanted for me to liberate myself from the fear of death. So you have to go through this death experience. You just have to go through it to know that there is no death. The I is just leaving this body and entering the body. The I is formless, timeless, limitless, boundless. And so once the self had me experience leaving the body, and remember, this was not like a dream. This was, I was laying down, this was all happening. And it was terrifying. But when I make that breath and I grasp for that breath, I return back into the body. And that was when I understood the myself and the power that I am, and that there is no death, and it's just I, just leaving and entering into the body. So having awareness of leaving and entering the body. So I am being in awareness of myself doing that. So every time you leave the body, it's a death. So that's what you can call, because when you go to sleep, you are also doing the same thing. You're leaving the body, but you're just not in awareness of it. You just go into the, and you fall out, and you have no awareness. But I was doing that. I was leaving the body with awareness, and so this was how I experienced the death, and I know what happened. I know that every one of us, we are the sun, and the soul self is is the witness to everything that has happened, and is recording everything that has happened for every how many lifetimes that I have come and gone into many different bodies. Know this truth. So like for the I self, there's so many um different bodies, avatars I have come as. Some of them I know, some of them I have not come into full awareness of yet. But one day I will share, all of those. And there's actually four very famous ones, apart from coming as Aset, Mary, which many ones know in the world as the mother of Jesus, which is really Eru, Shiva. So this was the first story, and now that story was just taken from Shiva's story. All right, so I have come into the into the body when as wearing the human self with it, which is the shattered, fragmented spirit self, um, and then merge, and now in this lifetime as merge. So soon I will share it once. The famous ones, they're popular now, but many ones know who they are. That I have come into this. So when you come into this realization, you get to know, many of your avatars, that you came into the world as. Yeah. So it's time now to just do this, to just dissolve this ego false self, and to just come into the real of the I self, and to just be curious of the I self. And so I just want to say that curiosity is important, because many are not curious. They just go along from day to day. Just they don't even look up to this. They don't look up to the sky. They know nothing about anything. They're not curious about the sun. They're not curious about how the sun makes the world balance. I mean, they're not curious about themselves. They're only after pleasures, things, all the things in the world that they can accumulate. So, I want to ask you, are you curious about your existence? Do I want to know the truth? Told from the I, the real self, called the soul. The soul bear witness and knows all. Do you want to know excuse me, do you want to know the truth from the I self? Or do you just prefer to believe the stories of the duality and the delusion of your mind? Are you curious to know what is life? To know how to return to truth? Are you curious? When you say curiosity kills a cat, why would they say that? Because they don't want you to be curious. Curiosity got us here, and curiosity will liberate us from here. It was because we were curious, that's why we have created this. We were curious, we want to know. The I Self Supreme is curious, wanted to know what would happen if I go to sleep. What would happen if I have a thought? What would happen if I think of a creation, if I build and create what would happen if I go to sleep and dream of a creation? What would happen if I do this? The I Self Supreme was curious. And so the I Self Supreme has explored every aspect of its curiosity and is no longer curious about anything into this. This is why the time has come for this dream to end. The I Self is waking up, because the ego and the ego false selves had taken over and did not want the I Self to return back onto truth. This is why the ego has fear. So death to this ego false self, so that the I, the real self, can rise and return to the I, ultimate true state. Be curious, ask questions, so that the I can know truth. Don't follow the temptations. Don't follow the temptations of the world, because many things is going to tempt you. desires for the pleasures of this dream illusionary world. Temptations is here everywhere you look. There's something to tempt you to stay in the dream. No, 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 don't wake up. While you're trying to wake up, the mind is there giving you another vision and just holding you into the sleep so you will not wake up. I want you to know that your God is your devil in disguise. How the gods come to tempt you, offering you riches and pleasures and money. Know that for everyone that rises up and awake in the dream, all the gods come to do this for them. They come, remember the real self, Shiva, that came when all the gods came. The devil, which is Set, came and said, I will give you all of these things. Bow to me, serve me, and go back into sleeping. Buddha, you see the temptations are coming. I'm offering you all of these things. You must denounce ties to this dream existence if you want to wake up. And you are going to be tempted. You must resist temptation. Man, woman, sex, all of these things are coming to tempt you. You must know this truth. You must resist temptation. You must know that the gods are the one that put you in suffering so that they can come and be your savior. So you can call on them, because if you don't call on them, they put you in suffering. They put you in suffering and put blockage in your way so that nothing will happen for you, because they want you to call on them so that you can know they can be your savior, and you can say, oh, if it wasn't for God. But many times it's not God who is helping you, it's yourself soul that is fighting for you to know truth. It's At and Ra. It is all the I, other aspect of the I self supreme, that is doing this for you and not the gods. Can I resist temptations and maintain a pure mind and a pure body? Don't put things, poison in your body. Don't smoke. Don't drink. Don't take drugs. Stay away from sexual stuff. Keep this body pure. Keep your mind pure. Practice affirmations when your thoughts are going wayward. Stay away from all temptation in this world. I want nothing of this world. Stay away from temptations. The I must be curious. So I ask, what was the first thought that came to the I Self Supreme, the unmanifest stillness, non-being? Scientists are curious of the universe, but are you curious about the I Self? All the I in the world, you're curious about gods. You're curious about all these Anunnakis, all these dualities, these deities, but you're not curious about your own self. If you're curious about yourself, you're going to say, who am I? How did I come into being? What is the source of my existence that is allowing me this world experience? What is this world experience? I want I to know that this world experience is a dream. This life is a dream. Be curious to experience the I self without the supreme ego. Aren't you curious to wonder what it will be like to exist without having a crazy mind, to exist without war, to exist without hatred, to exist with this without having to form into bad habits, to exist in balance and harmony? Aren't you curious? Don't you want to be in this existence of balance and harmony into the I real self? Be curious. Be curious that I need to ask question of the I self. Who am I? How do I exist in this body? These are some questions for the I to ask the I self. Be curious. What is the great question that I am not asking? You must ask yourself this question so that it can come to you. Because notice that the things that you are curious of, you try it and it happened for you. So why not be curious about the I self so that this too can happen for you? Who am I? How did I come into being? Who or what is God? Stop making assumptions that everything is happening is as a result of God. God is a result of the chaos and not the balance. God is not balanced. Know this. God is only one aspect, which is the duality aspect. God is the magnetic aspect. The dream, God is not the real. What is the source of my existence, allowing me this world experience? That I must be curious. Don't be afraid. Then be curious about fear, like I explained to you. I had fear. I was curious, and so I asked and I experienced. When the experience was over, then I know the truth. If you want to face the truth and know the I self, then I must be curious. Is this world a dream? Be curious and ask. Are we sleeping inside a dream? How am I animating this body? Be curious. Where is this world taking place? Are we inside the womb of another, like a fetus inside the womb of its mother? Why is the I mind so ignorant? Be curious. Why does so many suffer mental sickness? Why can't the I mind figure out the real? Be curious. Ask these questions. What is the root cause of humanity's problem? Why is it that there can never be peace? Why is there always a war, always a conflict? Why is there always confusion? Ask these questions. Be curious. The I must be curious. It is time to denounce your dogmas, superstition, religion, and spirituality, and just self-inquire and come to self-realization. It is that simple. You know there's a force that you are unaware of. Why do you not ask what this force is? You are quick to make false assumption. You have been brainwashed and programmed into thinking it is God. Did you ask yourself intelligence? Have you ever asked this force to identify itself? Have you ever self-inquire of your true self-identity? This is what I and I must be curious. I and I to know truth. I and I must denounce your dogmas, superstitions, religion, and spirituality, and just self-inquire and come to self-realization. It is what? It is that simple. Who am I? From where does these thoughts arise? That I must inquire into thought inquiry from where the thoughts are rising from, because the I enemy is being played by the I mind. When a thought arises, question this thought. You should be able to identify that the thought is not you. It arises from somewhere. Where does it rise from? My thoughts are not myself. I want you to say this. My thoughts are not me. I am not these thoughts. Where does these thoughts arise from? Seek the origin of the thoughts that rise up. They are not yours. Don't own them. What should I believe in and what should I serve? The I am busy wanting to believe in something and serve in something. But I said I should only believe in the I self. Know that the I real self is the I self soul. It's not something that the I gives away willy-nilly and put it in slavery. It is for you to merge and be one with it. Be yourself. The I should serve the I self destiny, which is to dissolve this ego false self and merge with the I real self. That's what you should serve. To dissolve that which the I have created and return to the I ultimate true state. The I should only seek refuge in the I self supreme, primal light, the unmanifest stillness, non being. I want to thank the I tremendously for your time. I am one with all. Beware that this mind will want to resist, protest, and convince the I all the reasons not to do this. Know that you are in command. Know that the I is in command. Say, I am in command. Reinforce to the mind this affirmation. Mind, be still. Be still. Be still. Mind, be still and know that I am in command. I am in command. I am in command. I am in command of the commandment, command. Mind, be still. I awake from sleeping. I dissolve this dream. I dissolve this ego false self. I am stillness. I am that I am. I am. I am formless, timeless, limitless, boundless. I am stabilized in the I self, the unmanifest. I am the self supreme, primal light. I am one with all. All is myself. I alone exist. I am that has no name. I am that can't be explained. I return to the I ultimate true state. I bow to I in self, in light, and in truth. Thank you. Thank you for joining I.
Yeah, get stuck upon shit that ain't even real. Entangled in your feelings. On, you go on and repeat. Mind stuck weak, mind deceived, mind got a upbeat, mind free, mind I got it. Stepping ahead of time, stepping ahead of time. Juice is running out, juice is running out. Sweet scent of jasmine, fill the air with the fragrance of grace. Reminds you that I'm still here, but still there. Taking a conscious breath, dying a living death. Dying a living death, conscious of every breath. Dying a living death, conscious of every breath, yeah. In the vast universe like a bug to be squatched. How much time have you got? How much juice left in the jar? What have you done so far? What is the purpose and the reason for your madness? Dead while you after me with mad vengeance. Sucking my life energy and pouring your dead darling. Baby cries, life to the young, dual nature to everyone. Shit gets wiped out my memory. Body will get burned in a cremated cemetery. Remnants of ashes grow into a tree. Fragrant sweet jasmine aroma, the air in this life and death love affair. Every sweet death comes to find me, but I wake up one of life anomaly. Dying a conscious dead, yeah, dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Juice is running out, juice is running out. Scent of sweet jasmine, fill the air with the fragrance of grace. Reminds you that I'm still here, we're still there. Taking a conscious breath, dying a living dead, dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Taking a conscious breath, dying a living dead, dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Send my pop, my fate, watch destiny outplay. Spirit, soul in unity, life energy, merging in the creator infinity. Liberating me around me, all I see. Leaving physical and mental body, releasing karma and its tragedy. Chains of magnetic slavery, liberation at last, no future, no past. Now is the time, now. This moment is all there is. You dig? Dying a conscious death, dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Dying a living dead, conscious of every breath. Juice is running out, juice is running out, juice is running out. Sweet scent of jasmine, fill the air with the fragrance of grace. Reminds you that I'm still here, we're still there. Taking a conscious breath, dying a living dead, dying a living dead, conscious of every